Hello, Expandong. How you doing, dude?
Turbo wasn't
better
Super
pick it when we go
Turbo
fast
last
tonight.
year
Do I
or the
agree
year
with the sentiment
before?
that Palworld is better than anything Pokemon has ever done? No.
Whoa.
I don't believe that at all.
Why
Do I
not?
believe that this game is better than modern Pokemon? Well, some of the gameplay elements are great, but it doesn't really have a story.
Is he really
right?
enjoying it more than modern Pokemon? He can't even like, because you know how he likes to knock off games to like shit on the mainstream games? I don't even think he can really do that with this. Do you really think he's having more fun with this than like modern Pokemon?
Awesome.
I don't think so.
Sounds good, Derek.
And we just got the confirmation right there. I don't think he's enjoying this.
Relatives to start celebrating Lunar New Year.
But yeah, I know. I wasn't like I didn't care for the story of Scarlet and Violet either. As someone that never played it, but I saw it. I saw him play it. I saw like Anne play it.
Take the poke and shut up.
But it's kind of like at least it is a story. I know this game's in early access, but it's like I feel like he wants to cap and say it's better than Pokemon to dunk on Game Freak and Nintendo and the Pokemon Company. But I feel like he can't even fool himself. Like existing in this sort of purgatory where you have to pretend it's good. It's amazing. This is God's gift to mankind. Palworld here.
We're gonna need the ingots for this weapons workbench.
Here's a secret message I was talking about.
It says, I think it is silly Pokemon fanboys are angry over this game. Competition always benefits the consumer. This game will make the next Pokemon game much better. What are your thoughts? Also, Super Chat is glitched.
No Pokemon fans are really angry about this. If anything, the hoopla is more from the Twitter crowd because of the game's alleged use of AI and the soullessness of it all. And I think people are using, not to say that there are like literally nobody that's like a Pokemon fan or Nintendo fan that's like upset, but I think that's being used as a veil to like masquerade the genuine criticism about the game and how like just look at DSP. He's like, he obviously wants it to be better than Pokemon, but he's playing through it. And I think he knows deep down it's not better than, it doesn't have the charm and soul of the modern Pokemon title, but he wants so bad to enjoy it and say that it's better than Pokemon so that he can like, you know, because competition is good. And he probably does want Nintendo and Game Freak to do better, but he's really not enjoying it as much as I think he wants to be enjoying it. But, on the part of the people talking about the game, I think much of the discussion is centered around the AI and of course whether the designs are because we know it's not AI. I think that was confirmed, but whether the designs border parody or just like tracing and changing some details around. They're not stealing assets, but they are using like generic assets from the Unity store. I think that was also confirmed. Have these Twitter people browsed Steam lately? They have not. But it's just kind of the nature of the beast when something gets popular, you know. I'm sure they don't have double standards. I'm sure if they looked at the Steam store, they would be just as appalled to see what gets put on Steam these days. But this is what's popular now, so this is what gets complained about.
Out for me, so I had to do this as a tip.
Well, let's see what he says.
Oh, I wonder what happened. Is Super Chat's working for anyone? A Super Chat literally just happened this moment. As you said that, but this was
Wait a minute, Carl. Were Super Chats bugged the whole time?
DNA did a Super Chat saying, is it okay to say I'm incredibly gay? I mean, that's up to you. There's nothing wrong with being gay at all, so you can say whatever you want. I mean, if you want to reveal that
Ralph
to the world,
would dare to disagree.
Okay with that. I mean, it's kind of a personal
There's nothing
thing.
wrong with
I don't
that.
think we're really talking about people's sexual preference or orientation on the stream.
Oh my
it's not
god.
really anyone's business, so anyway.
We didn't really need this long of a sermon, man.
Hold on.
What? What's he doing? Oh, sip.
In regards to this making Pokemon better, you would hope so. Like, you would hope that they would take this as
well, okay, let me be charitable here. What could Nintendo take away? Because like the game itself is just a mixture of other genres. So what does he want Pokemon to take away from this? Just stuff that those other kind of games are, because it's just art with Pokemon and like one other game. Like, so he's like, I want Game Freak to learn from this. So you just want them to take shit from Arc, and I swear there's one more game I'm thinking of that it also has elements of. So you just want them to take shit from other games. Honestly, when Pokemon was doing that, when they were just copying other shit, that's like when I was kind of tuned out. When I started copying Yokai Watch, I already wasn't into that. So I would kind of prefer if they just kept on doing their own thing. They can, look, I agree. I don't own Scarlet and Violet or Sword and Shield. I fucking hate mainline Pokemon now. All they need to do is add the national dex, and I will go back into it. But they can't even do that much for me, so I'm not going back into it. There is room for improvement, but I would rather they like do the improvement on their own, like going their own way, just kind of maybe seeing what their actual fans want from the next games and kind of just working with that. Maybe don't make a game every year. Don't pull a Call of Duty on us, but I don't think the solution should be, okay, let's see what everyone else is doing and let's just do that, but with Pokemon. Because they did that with Yokai Watch already, and that shit got old by the time the Sun and Moon even came out. Because by the time Sun and Moon came out, Yokai Watch was already dead.
A message?
He just wants game to be like other game.
Better, rather than just being upset that, oh, you're using RIP and copying it or whatever. I would hope that Pokemon Company takes a lesson from this. That listen,
what
people
lesson?
Want better Pokemon games. They don't want inferior graphics. They don't want
the graphics
played out formulas. They want something different. You know, imagine if this actually really was Pokemon with all the licensed content.
Like, I'm trying to humor him here genuinely. Graphics is just so generic. Does this game look better than a Pokemon game? I guess. But like, where's the identity? You have the pals and then that's it. The characters don't even, like, your player character isn't even the same art style as the pals, and the environments are just unmemorable. They're all Unity assets, very generic. There is no environmental art design. Like, if you go to Hyrule in Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, you know you're in Hyrule. If you go to New Donk City in Mario Odyssey, you know you're in New Donk City. You know you are in a Mario game. I think, and again, it's in early access because I can't be too mean. Maybe by the time it fully releases, it'll have like its own places. But like, compare it to Genshin, you know? Genshin's got all the fun characters and all the places you can go to in that game are visually distinct and unique from each other. And this is it's just samey. I get it, like, he means graphics from like a generic perspective. Oh yes, the graphics must be better. Well, I would hope with the Switch 2 releasing, the graphics of the next Pokemon games, I would hope they'd be better. But it's just like, does he really think this is that much better? And again, my point is, I think he wants to enjoy it more than he actually enjoys it, because he's kind of struggling here to really define what specifically he wants Pokemon to take from this.
You'd probably be outstanding. JC. But they've just become so complacent and lax with the games that they put out, and people keep buying them. And that's kind of a problem. People would stop buying.
People bought this shit.
Inferior games.
People bought Palworld.
Then likely
19 million players or something, I hear.
You know, Nintendo would improve, but people buy the inferior ones.
You reward bad business behavior, says the guy who buys like a Dragon $110 edition. You reward bad business behavior.
Why is it such a low chance to cash? It has no health.
So did I, Carl.
Come on, man.
Maybe it's weird, but I prefer, I don't mind that they have stories now, but I do kind of more prefer old Pokemon where you kind of made the story yourself. Like, there was always story. You were always like, even in the first games, you were fighting Team Rocket and shit. There was plot, there was dialogue. But I think I kind of preferred it when the adventure was more, you make the story up as you go along. You kind of like envision like what your character's doing. It's kind of like a D&D situation. Does that make sense? And then like the supplementary material, like the anime or the card game would kind of flesh out the lore and world building. But the game was just kind of like the entry point, the gateway to the broader franchise. Because the characters in the games weren't really fleshed out until like, I want to say Generation 5, essentially. And up until that point, they were kind of blank slates for which the anime and even the mangas that were out at the time, you had to rely on the manga and the anime to characterize the side characters or the protagonists who were like blank slates. And now they got Gatchas out, Pokemon Masters, which is specifically, that one's for getting the human characters more personality and all that. But so they want to be more like the JRPGs of the now. But I think like what Carl said, I think I prefer back in the day where you were just kind of making the adventure yourself. That was kind of like the mystique of it. You're just a stupid kid. You're a stupid 10-year-old kid out on an adventure with Pokemon.
Now you're
It's your
upsetting me.
story to craft.
Catch the goddamn
That's the reason why you're liking Palworld?
Catch the goddamn thing.
This has elements of old Pokemon for sure. But
Finally.
I think my thing with that, and why I was criticizing the lack of story earlier, is that I'm not sure if that's intentional RRU or if that's just a side effect of this being early access. Like the story just doesn't exist yet.
Yeesh. Got a new one.
I really loved X and Y. I was hard capping for X and Y. I was the biggest X and Y defender.
Way more difficult.
I thought we were gonna get Z and everything. But nope, they just gave us shitty Hoenn remix. I'm just not allowed to have fun. I'm just not allowed to have them like watch them capture monsters and shit in this stupid game.
To start making the balls, which I can. I have the ability to do that. It's just I just harvested all that ore, and it takes
I think they
to use those. So
Heart Gold Soul Silver had a low production run because of that fucking Pokewalker.
Maseo says if Pokemon did become like Palworld with these kind of graphics, I would so buy it. The problem is they need the hardware to handle it. You're right.
Graphics.
And again, that's Nintendo's fault. Nintendo always
says,
"Oh, we're not
Nintendo's fault?"
competition." Yes, you are. Yes, you fucking are. Now you see your
shit again. I said it yesterday. You say one thing to this motherfucker, and he's like a telltale character. DSP will remember that. They said something like that. Reggie's dumbass said something like that 10 years ago to cope about the Wii U's bad sales, and he has remembered that time immemorial ever since. I can't remember the last time they said something along the lines of, oh, we're just on our own, doing our own thing. We're not actually a competition. It's like fucking Wii U days. And he still whips this quote out like they said it just fucking yesterday.
competition. Here it is. If you're not going to make the game everyone wants, someone else will, and they will make millions upon millions of dollars that should have been yours because you were fucking lazy and put out a console that's like a child's toy.
That console is now, as of today, because the quarterly report came out, the second best selling console. The second best selling console of all time. It is 15 million short of beating the PS2. Which at this point I think is very likely it will, especially if the Switch 2 comes out and they sell it. They sell Switch 1 at a price drop. But tell us more. Here's Dave to tell you more.
Okay.
You reward bad business behavior. You're rewarding bad behavior.
Okay, that's your fault that you sell a child's toy instead of a serious console.
A serious console. Nope. What does he want? What does this motherfucker want? He wants him to just go back and making regular consoles? Okay, then what's my incentive to buy a Nintendo console? Just the exclusives? What was my incentive to buy an Xbox? The Xbox exclusives? Oh, wait, Dave. They're gonna put those on PlayStation now, I hear. Wow. I guess they would have lost a lot of money and looked stupid if Nintendo had done that. Nintendo should just make a serious console, but they don't have the graphics. So if they made a serious console, but don't have the graphics, then congrats. They just made an inferior PlayStation. So what the fuck, why would I buy a Nintendo anything? If they try to make a serious console again? When was the last serious Nintendo console? I would think GameCube, but he would probably say SNES because the GameCube to him looks like a fucking lunchbox.
No bitching were allowed here. This is 100% on Nintendo, in my opinion.
How is it on Nintendo? They don't even care. They said like one thing about Palworld. You know what Nintendo's statement on Palworld was? We reviewed the statement. The statement was, we know it exists and we're looking into it, but like that's it. That's all we have. They don't care. It's like when people dunk on J.K. Rowling, that's right, I'm bringing up J.K. Rowling on the stream. It's like when people dunk on J.K. Rowling, and she's like, whoa, J.K., how do you cope with yourself at night? And J.K.'s like, I count my money, and then I go to sleep, and then all my troubles just flush away. You know, it's like that with Nintendo, too. Oh, Nintendo, how are you coping with Palworld? Nintendo, how are you gonna cope with Palworld? Well, I think Mario just counts fucking coins, and then, like, decides the day's good. I just count my gold coins, and then I go to sleep.
Arrows in a small
What's your point here, big guy?
Where are we? We're exploring over
As
here?
if multiple
Okay.
monster catching games didn't exist before Pokemon or around the same time as Pokemon anyway.
It's gonna be harder over there probably. So we'll try to catch these guys first.
Dragon Quest Monsters? Why aren't you playing that, Phil? That one actually has an art style and unique creatures you can train up.
Nice.
DSP the fake fan. thought you
Level
loved
to
Dragon
19,
Quest.
I need to hit
I thought you
20
loved the Pokemon.
to build this weapons workbench, so we're getting there. We're making the progress we need. Switch sold 139 million units. Why would Nintendo put effort into making a better console when people bought the Switch so much?
Let me play my game.
For buying that many. You're right. You are correct.
Wow,
consumer
Phil.
is to blame.
Wow, Phil, you're right. You're always right, Phil.
Why would Nintendo put effort into...
This dude doesn't, like, whoever said this to him, they just listened to something Phil said the last time he cried about Nintendo and just regurgitated it back to him, and he was like, well, yeah, you're right. I do agree. It's literally something Phil said like 10 times on, like, a podcast already. Thank you, Regular. Thank you for, like, holding a mirror to him and letting Phil see himself.
Mark says, well, the Switch sold 139 million units.
Piece
Why
of
would
shit.
Nintendo put effort into making a better console when people bought the Switch so much? It's our fault for buying that many. You're right.
You're right. You are
correct.
stupid. You are stupid for buying the
consumer
Switch.
is to blame. If the consumer wants something better, they must demand it and must stop spending money on the inferior.
Yes, the Americans must demand to the Japanese people to make better consoles.
Correct? It's supply and demand.
No, that is not how supply and demand works.
What, woolly pops? Woolly pops, but I might not be able to catch them with these current balls that I have, so that kind of sucks.
Dude,
By the way,
Phil bought,
DNA,
yeah, Phil bought two.
you.
Bro,
You did
I
do
don't
that
even
super
have
chat,
two
and I forgot to put you on the
Switches
leaderboard to get you up there.
currently. I bought a Switch and a Switch OLED. Leave me alone. That comparison doesn't work. I felt it myself mid-sentence.
Yeah, I know.
Try
In
more,
truth,
though.
Duke says Nintendo must think they're on the right path. I mean, the Switch is basically the second best-selling console of all time. Again, what I don't understand are
Bad behavior status rewarded.
I just never understand.
I guess you're just an old boomer who doesn't get it, Phil, because, like, there's nothing he can say. His issue is that there's nothing he can really say to get his point across, because the Switch is doing bangers. Everyone loves the console. It's really just sad, embittered boomers like him who don't like it. Like, I don't know what to say. Is it a kid's toy? I guess. Kids like it. It's selling well. Second best console of all time. And the games are good. Even if you want to call it a port machine, who cares? It's the best of machine. It's got like almost Nintendo's whole ass catalog on it by this point. But his problem is that he doesn't know what he can really say to get his point across. Like, he knows what he's trying to say, but he doesn't know how he can phrase it. Because what he wants to say is the Switch failed and Nintendo failed and it needs to go back to the drawing board. But really, if they listen to him, they kind of would just fail more.
It. It doesn't.
He's thinking he
What the
can't.
hell's going on? It's glitched.
He doesn't know what to say.
Why isn't it? It was completely glitched. It wasn't.
He can't say it,
working at all.
Algernon. Because he talks so much about how he wants to love Nintendo games, but his audience doesn't like them because they think that Nintendo games are for kids. So he himself thinks that Nintendo games should be all ages for everyone. So he can't say it's because they make stuff for kids, because that would felt his own previous arguments.
I just don't understand fanboy mentality because people.
Yeah, all 139 million people who bought it, they're just all big Nintendo. They're dingers. 139 million dinguses own the Switch. They're all fanboys. All of them. Each and every single one of them.
All the time say that they want something better from Nintendo, but then they always buy what Nintendo offers anyway.
They don't.
That will not.
I don't have
help
mainline
anything.
Pokemon.
That literally.
The generalization and broad brushing, he has to rely on this because he can't say that they have failed or that they put out bad games because they like the games. Even for as much as people cried about Scarlet and Violet's graphics and the Dex cut and all other bullshit about it, they still bought it and they still liked it. I hear people saying it's the second best story since Gen 5.
Will not.
If not the best.
Help anything. It's about supply and demand, and if you keep demanding
Business degree.
or keep rewarding things you don't want, you will never
Wake
get
up,
things
lady.
better that you want. How people don't understand this, it's baffling to me.
It's baffling.
But we love Nintendo. We want to get everything they have. But we hate the Wii U. So only a limited amount of people will buy the Wii U.
Decade-old console.
But then we're gonna buy
I said
these
Scarlet and
fucking
Violet,
little
Jesse.
figurines instead of the Wii U.
See? It's like I'm saying. DSP will remember that. Phil Burnell will remember that. Actually, a Telltale character. Nobody's talking about the Wii U. No, sure as shit, nobody's talking about Amiibos. Amiibos don't sell like that anymore. But this is the only frame of reference he has for whatever stupid-ass argument he wants to make. Because he can't shit on them for being a failure. Because it's factually not a failure. It's just not what he wants.
These fucking little figurines by the Wii U.
You know why those figurines came out, by the way? It was a part of Iwata's grand plan to make up money after the Wii U failed, because the Wii U was failing and the 3DS wasn't selling as well by that point. By the time Amiibos came out, so the Amiibo was supposed to be like a third pillar, kind of like how the DS was back in the days of the GameCube and the GBA. They called the DS the third pillar. So the Amiibos and the mini consoles, like the NES Mini and the SNES Mini, these were supposed to be like third pillars intended to carry them through the rough patch of the Wii U and the last legs of the 3DS. It was supposed to carry them to the Nintendo Switch launch, because the Switch wasn't ready to release yet. Was Iwata's backup plan, and the Amiibo started selling so well that we were able to make more of them.
But then we're gonna buy these fucking little figurines instead of the Wii U and still line Nintendo's pockets with money for years to come. So then Nintendo will not learn from their mistake.
He really wanted them to like go third party and go on the PS4. I still remember that stream. And now he's crying if you talk about Xbox going third party, he cries and say, "Oh, you're speculating. We don't know anything. Nothing's confirmed yet." But he was all too happy to go gung-ho on Nintendo going third party when nothing was confirmed so long ago. And you know what? Nintendo did experience failure, and they did learn from the failure. Was the Wii U not a failure? Because that's sure as shit what he says here. He says the Wii U failed, and then it's like, "Oh, you guys have to make Nintendo learn their lesson. You have to let it so that they learn from their failures and rise up to the occasion." Like, bro, that's the Wii U. That's literally they learned from the Wii U and then did the Wii U again with the Switch, except now you can take it anywhere instead of having it hooked up to the fucking gamepad. And it was a success, and people like it. And now it's the second best-selling console of all time. Yeah, they learned from their mistake. Like, what is he saying? His argument is like something they've already done.
Because you gave them the money they needed to keep operating. If they actually were hurting from the Wii U not selling, maybe they wouldn't have made another crappy console. Right?
Yeah, bitter old man. Switch isn't crappy though. You can say it doesn't have the horsepower, but it ain't crappy by any stretch of imagination.
Oh, I missed it. It looks fine to me. If it did buffer,
wide accessibility and access to a very, very massive library of games. Can't run modern AAA stuff, but that's fine. Most people who have a Switch have another console. Whoa, it's WWE Carl with a tier 1 gifted sub to Gonala Gaming. 35th sub. Thank you, Carl.
Got on the first try.
DSP doesn't even hate the Switch because it's underpowered. I think he does. Cool. I think it's a part of it, at least. He hates it because of his petty ass beef. And yes, and by and large, it's because he's still bringing up the Amiibo. Yes, it is a larger part of it is due to his beef. Because again, DSP does not forget.
Like
DSP will always remember.
Look at its face.
DSP will never forget the bad first impression.
Doctor's face.